Hello, hello, welcome back. This is the very first session of my new series here on LinkedIn and YouTube, Burnout-Proof Leadership. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending where you are in the world. If this is your first time joining me live, I'm so glad you're here. And if you've been with me for the previous series, Unshakable Confidence, we've just wrapped that one up last week. So welcome back if you've been with me before. It's wonderful to see you again. And for anyone new around here, I'm Tony Collis, executive coach for women in tech, board advisor, and a former tech executive myself. I have been to the top and I know what it feels like. I know the journey. I know what it feels like. I know how it sucks and also how it's extraordinary. And I'm on a mission as a coach, but actually because of my work as a woman in tech, to change the tech industry for the better. I genuinely believe the tech industry is not doing everything it needs to do for the human race. It could do better. And I'm on a mission to help it do better. And I'm doing that through my coaching by elevating women just like you to have a voice at the table, to have an impact, to have the influence. Because the quickest win to improve technology is to have a diversity of opinions. And that is the best way to support the human race through technology. And that's what I'm here to do. So I'm here to help you as a brilliant woman rise into her leadership, thrive, enjoy the journey, all without burning out along the way, which is what we're here to talk about today. Burnout. So as you're coming in, let's warm things up a little bit. I know that YouTube and LinkedIn don't necessarily tell you straight away. And last week's session, I don't know what happened. I was like merrily doing the session and somehow LinkedIn decided to make it different from the event I created. So I am so sorry if you were expecting to be in that event and you were there waiting. I was merrily live somewhere else on LinkedIn. I did post it afterwards. I hope you've had a chance to see it. But LinkedIn loves to do these things. You'd think that this was a solved problem by now, but hey, it's a bit like calendars. Calendars are my other tech nemesis. And I say this is somebody who worked in supercomputing. It cannot be this hard. But apparently it really is. So I am really hoping that you are here live. If you are here live watching me, please do me a favor. Let me know you are here. Drop a hand wave in the chat so I know you're with me. If you're watching the replay, drop replay, the word replay in the chat so I know you're here. And then tell me, have you ever said to yourself something like, I just need to get through this quarter, this project, this reorg, and then I'll rest. Or then I'll take a look at my career, or then I'll sort myself out, or then I'll go on vacation, then I'll feel better, then I will just do this and then it will be better. Have you ever said something like that to yourself? If that sounds familiar, pop a little fire emoji in the comments because you're in exactly the right place today. This new series, we're going to do 3 or 4. I've been mapping out content this morning, like I've got a lot to talk about. Always the case. This is about burnout-proof leadership over the next few weeks. And it's going to be all about building careers that don't break you. We're going to talk boundaries, sustainability, how to keep your leadership high impact while protecting your well-being and career longevity. I want you to know right from the outset, those two things are not mutually exclusive. Impact and career longevity and burnout, they don't need to come together. You don't have to burn out if you're going to do all those things. Burnout isn't just happening at the junior mid-level, which I think is traditionally where we focused on. And it's one of the things I'm incredibly passionate about. We know that women are reaching a plateau in their career and they're going, I don't want to go any further for lots and lots of reasons. And I think burnout is a big piece of the pie here. A big reason why women are not progressing. There is all this work being done, getting girls into STEM and then women into early career STEM careers and tech careers. And then we forget about them. And honestly, I'm not happy with that. So I want to talk today about how burnout is happening at the top and the cost it is taking to brilliant leaders just like you, to our health, our career. Sometimes we move from loving the work we once adored to hating it, to dreading it. So over the next 30-ish minutes, I'm going to share with you why burnout at the executive level is often hiding in plain sight, what to look for, the early warning signs that we tend to ignore as women, and how we're going to use boundaries. This is how we're starting out. We're going to start boundaries today, and how this is actually a leadership skill, not just a burnout antidote. We're going to talk about ways to bring in boundaries. for you and your team and keep it sustainable. So stick with me. By the end of today, I want you to see burnout differently. I want you to walk away with some simple, practical steps to start leading in a way that fuels you instead of draining you, and feel like you have an action plan just to get started. This is also a topic, by the way, that I'm talking about in my podcast. So I don't know if you've ever checked out my podcast, Leading Women in Tech. It's released every Tuesday on all the major podcast platforms, as well as on YouTube. And I post about it here on LinkedIn, so you can always find it. But I think the episode that's going to be released, maybe it was released this week, was about burnout. And the next one in a couple of weeks' time they're kind of all similar. They're all around the hidden costs of our career. And I'm like, what was the actual title of the next one? I recorded it earlier in the week and apparently it's like left my brain. But I'm talking about what is going on here, how we can build careers that light us up, that we enjoy, that we can step away from these things, how to have boundaries, how to inoculate ourselves against the things that kind of will test us. This is such an important topic. And I think as we progress into the fall, if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, it's well worth looking at. So much of the time we get to the holidays at the end of the year, we're just done. I find it ironic that we kind of shut down from Thanksgiving onwards. We don't tend to do much work if you're in North America. December in particular, wherever you are in the world, a lot of the women I work with, their companies are kind of coasting. There's a recognition that everybody's burnt out. And I'm like, this is not good for business. But it's necessary because we're all burnout. So I want to really address that over the next few weeks. Okay, but let me get back on topic today. Let's talk about the hidden epidemic. That this is happening at the top of the org rather than just at the bottom. It's quiet, it's often invisible. We tend to picture burnout as this junior engineer problem working 80-hour weeks, or a mid-level manager juggling too many projects. Maybe they've just started to take on management, but they're still expected to do IC work. And that's a really hard juggling act for many of us. I work with a lot of women who are like going through that. And the faster we can get you up to like senior director and VP, the better, because actually doing that IC and leadership work is really hard to do both together, both well. But I also work with executives, including CEOs, who are burning out at record rates, in my opinion. And it's just, we're hiding it better. And I say we because I have been there, done that, got the t-shirt. One of the reasons I ended up being a coach, because I was burnt out. And I realized coaching was the thing I was loving, gave me passion. If I hadn't burnt out, would I be here today? Maybe not. I like to think that what I'm doing means that it was a good experience, a net benefit to the human race that I went through that. But I shouldn't have to have gone through that. And maybe, I mean, if I'd stayed in supercomputing, what would I have achieved? I don't know. But every week I speak to women who say, I'm done with tech, or I'm just working towards retirement. They come to me to have a conversation about like, well, how do I make a decision about where and when, and what's the final step in my career? How do I exit? The passion and the fire is gone. The only reason they're there is money, which by the way is very valid. Golden handcuffs, money, because they need retirement, or because they just haven't had the courage to change things, which is often why they come to me. And this is heartbreaking. These women are extraordinary. They are changing the world. They are changing the perception of what it takes to be a tech executive, and yet they're done. And I really want to change that, because we spend more time doing our jobs than anything other than sleeping. So we should love what we do. We should make a difference. We should feel excited and engaged. Yes, there's going to be hard days. Of course there are. I think growth comes from hard and uncomfortable. But it shouldn't be net negative. So what is going on here? Why am I hearing more and more of this? Well, life is hard right now, and the narrative in society is not helping. It means that when we aren't in work, we're surrounded by stuff that's also draining. But that's not it. That's not the only cause. I think it's additional. But I think one of the things I'm seeing is burnout disguises exhaustion. And the exhaustion is disguised as resilience. We keep getting up, we're being resilient, but actually we're exhausted, and we're exhausted because we're burnt out. We have this pressure to look composed. We have this pressure to look strong, to be the face of the woman, to be the face of the company, to be the face of the team. We're always the one holding it all together. But underneath, we're struggling. We might have a shorter temper that we explain away as stress, or other people are explaining away as stress. And one of the things that I have conversations with clients about a lot is they've had some feedback that maybe they're not getting on as well with others as they should. They're a bit toxic to be around, and they're like, really, what's going on here? We dive into it. They're burnt out, so they're stressed, so they're agitated, so they're pissed off more of the time. All that leads to reduced creativity. We're solving problems, but not as well. We're not innovating. And that becomes a negative downward spiral, because if we're not innovating and not as good at solving problems, because we have reduced creativity, because we've got more stress and we're tired, we make less good decisions, or we make decisions that maybe could have been better in some way, that mean we could have made a better product, we could be more competitive, whatever it is. So either we make mistakes or we make less good decisions than other people or other competitors around us. And that reinforces the urgency, reinforces the overwork desire, reinforces like, oh my gosh, we're not doing well enough, adds to the stress, which means you sleep less well, which means you have a shorter temper, which means you make less good decisions, and you spiral downwards. I want to break that spiral with you today, because the other thing I see is a quiet disengagement, precursor to quiet quitting. You're there, but you've lost the spark of energy. You're just there to turn up, right? And the hardest part, most of us don't see this in ourselves until it's too late. Because high achievers, especially women in tech, we are masters at dismasking the signs. We've been trained our entire career to push through, be the reliable one, prove again and again that we can handle it. Handle it. What does that even mean? But we have had to prove ourselves so much more than our male colleagues. If you are an executive in tech, as a woman, you are damn extraordinary. Just hear that, right? But there potentially has been a cost along the way. Because the reality is, burnout doesn't just cost your energy, it costs your credibility, it costs your decision making, your relationships, and ultimately your career longevity, which is why I think women tend to retire earlier than men. Women tend to leave tech more than men. So let me ask you this. What is one subtle sign you notice in yourself when you're running on empty? Maybe it's irritability, maybe it's brain fog, maybe it's dreading that next meeting. Drop in the comments, because naming it is the first step to catching it early and doing something about it before you're coming to a coach like me and saying, I'm done. What do I do now? Because if we can normalize that burnout happens at the top, we can start tackling it before it breaks you. Like, I don't want any of you breaking. I want you here for the long haul. I want you here to change the world. So I would much prefer to be having conversations, preventing you getting there, than dealing with the repercussions and having the conversation once you're burnt out about what to do and how to recover. That, I mean, I will do it, but it breaks my heart every time. But then, we can have matcha green tea, so we're all good. Okay, let's talk about why are we not hearing about it? Why are we not talking about it? Here's the truth. Most of us feel we can't admit we're struggling. Is that you? Okay, if you don't want to put that in the comments, drop me a DM. Are you struggling to admit that you're struggling? Because we've been told this story that leaders are supposed to have it all together. If we need a break, you're weak. You need sleep, you're weak, is a narrative in our culture still. If you step back, you'll lose the credibility that you've worked so hard for. This creates what I call the success versus sanity trap. Success and sanity. I can't keep my success and have sanity. I can't have success and protect my sanity. I can have one, but not both. It's why we think it's impossible to have it all. We start telling ourselves stories, because that's why they are the success as a price. And the feeling of burnout is inevitable. I actually spoke to a woman not that long ago. He said, yeah, I just anticipate burnout every 5 years. I just I make enough money over 4 years to take a year off. And I was just like, what? How is that healthy? How is that good for you? How are you changing the world while you're doing that? How is that a good way to operate? I don't want you to view burnout is inevitable as the price of being the leader that is changing the world, of the price of being the leader who is making an impact and having an influence and changing the way we run businesses and run teams. This should not be inevitable. But when you believe that it is, you push harder, you take on more, you overfunction until something breaks. And I see this especially as women in tech. As I said, we have pushed to prove ourselves over and over again just to get a seat at the table. Once we're there, The idea of slowing down, which by the way, you shouldn't have been going that fast in the first place, feels terrifying. You say to yourself, if I stop, will I lose everything I've built? Here's the danger. Silence does not protect you. It accelerates burnout. The leaders who pretend everything's fine while they're quietly crumbling are the ones who end up with health scares, derail careers, or just quietly disengaging from work they once loved. And let's be clear, burnout isn't a personal weakness. It's a leadership challenge. That's what it is. It's a leadership challenge. But you have a choice on how you respond to every challenge. You always have a choice. So I want to hear from you. Do you typically push through exhaustion because you worry that stepping back would make you look less committed? Drop a hand wave in the comments if that's you. If you are worried about slowing down or stepping back because it might make you look less committed, I want to know if that resonates with you. Here's a reframe I want you to take away. I want you to realize that slowing down is not a weakness. Having boundaries is not a weakness. All these things are actually a leadership skill. And that's what we're going to talk about now. So let's start with boundaries. For many of us, the word boundaries is like, oh, that's not something I can have. I've got kids. The only boundaries I have are making sure like I do attend some of my kids' stuff. That's it. I don't have any other boundaries. Why would I? I don't have time. I don't have energy. This is unfair. Like it's unrealistic. So we've been taught that setting limits means we're less committed. It means we're less ambitious. It means we're selfish. It means we're not driven enough. Here's the truth. Boundaries are not a weakness. They are a leadership skill. I want you to write that down and make it your screensaver. Boundaries are not a weakness. They are a leadership skill. Think about it. The leaders people trust most aren't the ones who say yes to everything. They're the ones who make smart choices, who protect their time, who model sustainability for their teams. Boundaries aren't about saying no to success. They're about saying yes to the right things. Let me just give you an example right here, right now. Earlier today, I was having a conversation with one of my clients in Slack. She is being tasked with delivering a big thing that is very important to the business by the end of the year. And she's looking at the timeline and thinking, whoa, now I've mapped it out. Like, hell no. We don't have the team size. They're working on supporting an existing thing. Even if I put them on full time, we're going to struggle. Anyway, the CEO suggested to her, why don't you ask them to work Saturdays and give them time off next year instead? Her immediate response, thank God, was like, hell no. I actually worked it out with her. We're talking maximum 9 extra days between now and Christmas. The reality is once you work over a 40-hour week, your productivity drops massively. So rather than 9 extra days, what we're talking about really is 4 extra days. And really what we're talking about is 2 people, 4 extra days. And I said to her, will that work? I was like, hell no. Of course it's not going to work. She needs an extra month full time of 2 people. It's not going to solve the problem, but it feels like that might be an easy thing to do. Now, this was an explicit ask of her to ask her team. But how many of you have felt, if I just do this on a Saturday, or if I just work late into the evening, then I can do it? It's exactly the same calculation. She was doing it on behalf of her team, but it's exactly the same calculation I just shared with you. An extra 2 hours a night for 5 nights a week isn't an extra working day, not even close. It's an extra equivalent to an extra 3 hours because of how less good you are at making decisions. You will have to do more rework. You will make less good decisions, which means that some of the things you do are dead ends where they wouldn't be if you were more creative. And what is the other costs? Like it isn't just the cost to the business of making less good decisions. It's the cost to your health and wellness and family. So here are 3 micro boundaries I want you to try this week. This is just as starting out. I want you to just try something. Number 1, have a no meeting morning or afternoon. Some of you are going, I can't do that. Book 1 recurring slot each week where you do deep, uninterrupted work. This signals you're intentional, not just reactive. If you work with me, I will get to more than this, but we work up to it. We do it in increments. We do education of our teams and our bosses, and there's ways and means to make this happen. But let's start. 1, no meeting morning or afternoon. Let's try that. If you already do that, let's upgrade it to 2. Okay. The second one, 5-minute reset breaks. Between back-to-back calls, take 5 minutes to stand, stretch, breathe. I will have my meetings, they're 25 or 50 minutes long. So I either have a 5-minute every 30 minutes or a 10-minute every 50. Now, I'm the first to admit I struggle, especially with the 50. If I'm deep in it in the weeds with a client, I want to wrap up the thing. But I will, even if I don't finish, I will take 30 seconds to stand and stretch and do 3 deep breaths. I show up sharper and everybody notices. As a coach, if I don't show up sharp, I'm not doing my job, right? If I just showed up to this like, I'm tired. And it's Friday. Why would I not be tired? It's the end of the week. I mean, I've worked hard this week. I've had a great week. But what I do is I make sure I have the energy before everything I do. And then the third one, protect one evening. Pick one evening where work does not intrude. Protect this consistently and train others to respect that. Actually, to be honest, work shouldn't intrude into any evenings or weekends, but I know the reality for many of you is that it does. As I've said, if you protect that time, you will make better decisions during the day. You will be thinking overnight unconsciously and solving problems. You will wake up in the morning with solutions because you had your evening to yourself. I know it doesn't always feel possible. So if you are one of those who is checking in every evening, start by turning off notifications. The world, unless you are literally in a life-saving business, the world is not going to go on fire because you didn't check your Slack or emails or Teams notifications at 10 o'clock at night. Turn off notifications and then start by putting in boundaries. Like, I'm not going to check stuff this week, or I'm not going to check after 7 or 8 p.m. Just try it. Just try one. Let's start small, just one evening. I had a client who implemented protecting her Wednesday evenings. That was it. She was so worried that it would make her look less committed. But after a couple of weeks, her team was really respecting her time. Her team actually also started not doing Wednesday evenings. And initially her boss was like, what is going on here? But after 3 weeks, he was like, wait, hold on. Your team's putting out really great work and you were showing up more focused than ever. The boss noticed. That's the power of good boundaries. They don't shrink your influence. They expand it. So let's make this interactive. Which one are you going to try this week? Which one feels doable? Number 1, no meeting mornings or afternoons. Number 2, 5-minute reset breaks. Or number 3, protecting an evening. Drop 1 for no meeting mornings or afternoons. 2 for 5-minute rest breaks. Or 3 for protect one evening. And drop 1, 2, or 3 in the chat, because when you commit, you're more likely to take action. Okay, let's zoom out for a moment, because burnout isn't just about this week's calendar or today's deadlines. It's about how you're building your career. Because here's the reality. You do not need to choose between ambition and well-being. You can and should have both, but only if you design your leadership to be sustainable. Here are the habits I see in leaders who thrive long-term. First of all, daily, we ground our energy. We take a moment to reflect on our impact. Where did I make a difference today? We ground ourselves. Not just what did I get done, but where did I make a difference? And then we have small recovery rituals like a walk, journaling, or 10 minutes of silence between work and home. Ground yourself every day. Then there are the weekly habits, protecting ourselves, protecting our focus. What are the 1 or 2 things that actually move the business forward? It's a great question to ask. Or what is the number 1 thing I need to do today to make a difference? Great question to be asking. Review where you're saying yes, and if you need to say no more. Is it aligned with impact, or is it just urgent? Review how you are saying yes. Protect your focus throughout the week. I love to ask the question, what is the 1 thing I need to do today to make everything else easier or unnecessary? It's out of a book, the number 1 thing, but it's such a great question. It really helps you protect your focus. And in the moment habits, use every moment to rewire your decisions. Pause before saying yes. When I first start working with a client who struggles with too much, I say to her, I don't want you saying yes to anything in the moment. I want you to always make time. Say, great, can I get back to you? Give me 5 minutes, give me 10 minutes, give me a day. And initially, sometimes they have to bring everything to me. We're in Slack, just chatting through things between meetings. So they're making good decisions. But you want to get to the point where you are only saying yes if it aligns with your priorities and it's not driven by guilt or fear. Anchor back to, what problem are we actually solving by doing this? This goes all the way back to the sessions we had earlier in the summer when we were talking about how to speak as a leader, anchoring back to the problem at hand, anchoring back to the business. If you do that, you are going to make better decisions around your boundaries as well. So you can see all this stuff, how to speak as a leader, confidence that we've just finished talking about, and now burnout, they're all related. That's why I work on all of it, because it all comes together. You might come to me to have more of an influence on as being an executive. You might come to me for burnout or low confidence. The work is often the same. Believe it or not, you might not want to hear that, but it's often the same. As an executive coach, I work on all these things because they all come together to give you executive presence, to give you that energy to show up with presence, to give you that energy to show up with influence. You've got to have confidence, as we've been talking about. You've got to step away from burnout, and you've got to be able to speak with that confidence and decision making. All of these things come together. I had a client who believed stepping back from the constant firefighting would make her look less valuable. So what we did is we actually had a plan, which is like, are you the only person that can firefight this? If not, I don't want you to step in. I want you to train your team to step up. So she started setting boundaries around that, ruthlessly prioritizing. Her CEO was initially nervous and then noticed that she was finally coming with strategy, not outcomes, not tasks, but actually changing direction. And the firefighting over the course of 3 months went down. This happens every time. You can't deal with the number of fires until you step away from the firefighting. Ideally, fires should never come up. When I see a business full of fires, I'm like, your leadership is too in the weeds every time. The irony of all this is the habits that protect you from burnout are the same habits that get you promoted. So I want to have a quick check-in with you. What feels hardest right now? Some daily reflection to ground yourself, the prioritization weekly and in the moment, or is it moment by moment pausing so you make better decisions? Drop a D for daily, a W for weekly prioritization, or an M for in the moment in the chat. Okay, here's what we've covered so far today. Burnout isn't just about junior employees, it's showing up at the executive table. And I really want you to hear that. If you're an executive and you're tired, this might be burnout. So I want you to hear that. It's often hidden in plain sight. Leaders don't talk about it because there's a stigma attached, the fear that stepping back means we are losing credibility. But burnout isn't a weakness, it's a leadership challenge, and boundaries aren't optional, they're a leadership skill. One thing I like to point out to clients is you have boundaries. You sleep, you eat. Maybe you have kids and you do go to their games. You do have boundaries. What I'm trying to do is bring those boundaries from 11 o'clock at night when you collapse into bed to a decent time in the evening, right? Let's just bring those boundaries in because they are a leadership skill and you will do better. And then finally, we've just covered at the end here a few habits to protect you initially from burnout and make you stronger. Here's something I want to leave you with. You are not the problem. The system is unsustainable. But when we lead differently, we are protecting energy. We're protecting our impact. We're creating career longevity, which is something we're going to talk about next week. And because we do that, we make a bigger impact. Our businesses actually run better. Our organizations achieve more. But if today resonated with you, I want you to do something practical. I have a toolkit to help you the balance to burnout to balance. Balance to burnout. The burnout to balance toolkit. I have a toolkit for you, which is covering some of what we talked about and what we're going to talk about over the next few weeks. If you would like that, it's a simple set of tools you can use right away to spot the early warning signs of burnout and reset before it takes hold. If you would like that, please drop me a DM with the burnout to balance toolkit or just toolkit, and I'll get that over to you. If you know you need more, if you know this is already impacting you, DM me, Lead Without Burnout Accelerator, because I have an accelerator coaching program that's starting in the next few weeks where I'm going to take a cohort of ambitious women and rebuild their leadership so it energizes them instead of draining them. If you would like to be in that, DM me, Accelerator, and let's have a chat. Let's see if you're a good fit. Let's get you out of this burnout hole. All right. This was just the start. Next week, same time, same place, we're talking how to build a career that doesn't break you. Because burnout isn't just about the day-to-day. It's about designing your whole career for sustainability and impact. So mark your calendar. Same time, same place, next week. And just to wrap up, drop in the chat, drop in the comments, one micro boundary or habit you're going to start this week. Thank you for joining me today. You've worked hard. You've worked too hard to burn out. So let's build leadership that lasts. And I will see you next week.